pasta sauce with chicken is absolutely delicious. Although ground beef is the most common type of meat used in tomato-based pasta sauces, using chicken adds a great twist. Argentine and Uruguayan tuco is absolutely delicious, and it's a good way to turn a bowl of pasta or polenta into a meal. If you want the recipe, keep watching. Pasta sauce with chicken is really easy to make. This recipe is based on Argentine tuco, a type of bolognese sauce. In Spanish I would call it tuco de pollo, chicken tuco, and it's basically just a sauce of vegetables that have been sauteed in some oil, crushed tomato, meat, and whatever else you want to add. I know it's not a true bolognese sauce, but I think that is the best translation for this pasta sauce with chicken. In this pot, I am heating up some oil, some canola oil, over medium heat. I'd say maybe 1.5 to 2 teaspoons. And to that, I'm going to add my vegetables. In true Argentine fashion, I grated my carrot, 1 small carrot, about 50 grams, 1 small onion, 80 grams, a little bit of red bell pepper, 30 grams, and a small stalk of celery, about 25 grams. I'm not really a celery person, so I kept that to a minimum. Now all I'm going to do, that my oil is hot, I'm just going to add it all to the pot. And I'm going to cook this for about 5 minutes. Now what I did think about doing is browning the chicken first and then adding the vegetables. But the thing with chicken is that it has a lot of small bones, and I like to use chicken leg quarters, and especially that, but even legs and thighs, just chicken in general. I feel like unless you use breast, it has a lot of small bones. So if you try to treat this like a stew, I think that it would be good, but you run the risk of having a lot of small bones in your pasta sauce, and who wants to deal with all of that mess, or as the Argentines would say, all the quilombo of pulling out the small chicken bones. So what I did is that off to the side, I boiled a chicken leg quarter. It's probably about 3/4 of a pound for half an hour. And then I let it cool, and I took the meat off the bone. So this is the meat that I have. And then I put the bone back into the water. Over to this side now. And in the water, I boiled the chicken with some onion, celery, carrot, onion, garlic, and a little bay leaf. So basically, I treated it like I was making stock. The heat is still on over there, so it's still making chicken stock. And what I'm going to do is, once the vegetables are done, I'm going to add the chicken, and then I'm going to add, I might add a little bit of maybe wine or something to deglaze the pan, and then I'm going to add the crushed tomato, and then maybe some spices. And instead of adding water to this, I'm going to add the chicken broth off to the side, and I think over time it's going to add a nice flavor to the pasta sauce, to the tuco. So yeah, I think you could brown the chicken if you wanted to first, but then since it wouldn't cook through all the way, you'd have to boil it anyway, and then you just have to take it apart if you don't want to deal with all the bones. And boiling breast isn't a good idea in my opinion. I don't really care for it. I think they get kind of rubbery. So honestly, I've heard Argentines say chicken tuco is good, but it has some complications, shall we say. unless you want to pick out a bunch of small bones. So these vegetables are almost done. Basically done now. I'm going to add the chicken, maybe to brown it a little bit. 138 grams of chicken flesh that I pulled off. And then I'll show you the next step. It's been a few minutes. I broke the chicken up as best as I could, but I think that as it continues to cook, it's going to fall apart even more. I'm ready to move on to the next step. I don't have any wine, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to improvise, like what I do with my braised beef shank recipe, one of them, the second one on my channel. I'm going to add half of a cup of apple juice with a 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. I know it sounds weird, but trust me, it works. There, good. Now I'm going to add the crushed tomato. And I just realized that I forgot the garlic. 1.5 cloves of garlic. I really like garlic. If you don't like garlic, you can leave it out. Put in more if you really, really love it. Whatever you want to do. And even though the garlic was not sauteed, I think because this is going to boil, it's going to be okay. And I'm very cautious about sauteing garlic because if it burns, it gets bitter. If I'm sauteing vegetables, let's say onions for 5 minutes total, I'll put the garlic in after 4 minutes. So it will only saute for 1 minute. I find that to be good. You don't have to worry about it getting bitter. I'm going to add half of a cup of the chicken broth. And I'm also going to add a small bay leaf. If you're just making this for the first time, you've never made a recipe before, you're new to the kitchen, and you say, Parnell, I don't have all of those ingredients. I don't have bay leaf. I don't have wine. I don't have apple juice. Can I still make this pasta sauce with chicken? Yes, you can. The more things you add to this, the more flavorful it will be. And some things you'll like more than others. But you can make this your own. You can add other vegetables. You can do purple onion. If you want to add some zucchini, grate the zucchini on a cheese grater and then saute that with the other vegetables. That's good as well. Honestly, there are a lot of things that you could do with this. And if you don't have bay leaf, you don't have whatever, I think it'll still be okay. Because I think when you start cooking, it's okay to start out simply, and then as you cook more, you'll realize, oh, I added that bay leaf and I like that flavor. You'll have something to compare to, so you'll know, oh, that's what that does. Like I said, it's just part of the process. And bay leaf, I think, is something that's not critical, but if it's not there and you're used to it, you'll say, hey, something's missing. Kind of like green onion. You don't miss it until it's not there. Although you could add salt and other spices at this point, I would not. This chicken bolognese sauce is going to get more concentrated as it boils down. So if you add salt or pepper or parsley or any other spice, it might be too concentrated by the time you reach the final product. So just like when making soup or stew, I recommend holding off on adding salt and other spices to this chicken bolognese until right before serving, unless you've made it before and you know exactly how much you want. However, I have a sweet tooth, so at this point I added 1 teaspoon of sugar. Sugar helps to cut the acidity of tomatoes, so I think you probably should add at least 1 teaspoon. If I remember correctly, I added 1.5 cups of chicken broth during the 1 hour cooking time. Although I could have added the same amount of chicken broth at the beginning, this was actually my first time making this recipe, so I wasn't sure exactly how much chicken broth I was going to add. or exactly how long I was going to cook it. That's why I started out by adding 1 cup of chicken broth and then I put on the lid, but not all the way, so that steam could escape. I then came by once every 15 to 20 minutes to not only stir the chicken bolognese sauce, but also to make sure that it wasn't running low on liquid. As you can see, by the time that it was almost ready, the chicken had fallen apart into shreds all on its own. Part of me was kind of worried that the chicken would remain whole and that it wouldn't evenly distribute itself throughout the sauce. However, the chicken broke down very nicely, so I was very happy with the result. My pasta is done, and I'm just heating up my pasta sauce with chicken one last time. And I wanted to show you something. On the bottom here, you can see that the pasta sauce is starting to caramelize a little bit, especially on the sides here. I've been scraping that down back into the pasta sauce. That, I think, really adds more depth to the flavor, so make sure you do that. As you can see, this pasta sauce with chicken is phenomenal, nice and thick. You can see the shredded chicken, the vegetables, everything. So I am ready to eat. Just gonna serve myself on top of the pasta here. It's hard to do this with the tripod in the way. I think this is a good a good 2 servings. This is 100 grams of pasta, so probably a little over a cup. And there it is. My pasta sauce with chicken. Incredible. As you can see, this chicken bolognese sauce was absolutely delicious. Although it would be good with any pasta, I think rotini is the best because the spirals hold the bits of chicken and vegetables. Up close, you can see just how hearty this sauce is. Although a lot of pasta sauce in the United States is kind of runny, tuco is not. It's actually more meat and vegetables than tomato puree. So when put on top of a bowl of pasta, it turns the bowl of pasta into a complete meal. Although I didn't add any cheese to this pasta bowl, I did add cheese when I used this chicken bolognese sauce on some gnocchis, sweet potato gnocchis. Gnocchis are a big part of Argentine culture, so I'll have to do a video on them at some point. But honestly, my favorite way to eat tuco is with a nice bowl of creamy polenta. If you're looking for something different, especially a gluten-free alternative to pasta, in my opinion, there's nothing better than a bowl of polenta with some tuco and cheese. Although I added chicken to this bolognese sauce recipe, it's actually really versatile. By adding more vegetables like grated zucchini, red onion, green onion, things like that, you can make a garden veggie tuco that would be incredibly delicious. Actually, one day soon, I think I'll probably try making tuco with beef shank. Beef shank is my favorite cut of meat, and I think it would be absolutely delicious when braised in this stew-like pasta sauce. Although this chicken bolognese sauce is probably different from what you've seen, it's incredibly delicious, so I hope that you give it a try. Let me know if you do. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.